My supervisor, Deb Anderson, got an email from Rick Litzinger requesting nurses to be deployed to North Carolina to help with Hurricane Florence. She has her office right across the hall from me, so she just said, "Hey Sarah, come in here and take a look at this if you're interested." And I'm also a volunteer for Oslo Fire and Rescue, and so I read it and I thought, yeah, that's something I could do, and if I could have the time off, I thought it'd be a great experience.
When there's a incident at the national level, in this instance it's a type 1 incident, which is the most severe when it comes to preparedness levels for emergency management at the national level.
And the next day came and I got ready for work, and at 8:30 my phone rang and it was Bismarck asking if I could come. And so within a half an hour, I got the okay from my supervisor, my director, from Altru, from my husband, verified with my coworkers, of course, that it was okay that I go, because they were going to have to cover my shifts and kind of pick up, you know, what I left off. And everybody gave me the go-ahead, and so within 24 hours, I was on a plane to Raleigh, North Carolina. I've never done anything like this before. I just love to help people. I thought instead of sitting back and just watching on the news or reading in the paper, that I could take an active stance and actually be of service. When we first got there, it was nothing like I had ever seen before, ever, on such a large scale. Growing up on a farm and then helping Oslo Fire and Rescue, you know, I'm used to being around big trucks and a lot of equipment, but on this larger scale, it was 100 times bigger than I could have ever thought. We ended up going to the base of operations, which was a Kmart that had been shut down, and that was base of operations for Hurricane Florence, and it was run jointly by military, North Carolina military, and the Department of Forest Services. Had already had 1,300 people come through since they opened that base of operations by the time we came there on that Wednesday. And so they were set up to move people to where they needed to go. People also stayed there every night. That was their place to come and stay, to get rest, to get food. But for us, it was a staging ground. So we knew we would be deployed from there. I was put into a shelter at a high school, Rose Hill High School in Wallace, North Carolina. And we did 12-hour shifts, so 2 nurses on per shift. There were a lot of people there, about 75, that were at our shelter, and they had needs of diabetic medications, blood pressure checks and medications, basic wound care, a lot of psychosocial, so a lot of mental, listening, lots of supportive services that we could give them. At times it was overwhelming, at times it was the magnitude of people's stories, because we heard everything from what their situation used to be to what it is now to what they had lost. And I can still think of several families that had shared just horrendous stories of rescue and of family that they had lost. And so those types of moments were most difficult. And I walked away a few times just to catch my breath and a pause, you know, take a moment of pause and kind of reset myself. But it was the most humbling experience I think I've ever had. And it was really a calling into what our most basic needs are, and are they being met, and how can I meet those, and how can I help. And the faces too, some faces and personalities, and the happiness that would come when people would find a place to stay that was long-term, and they would come up and find us nurses from North Dakota, and they would give us hugs, and we would share in their joy, even if it was for a moment. When we would tell people we're from North Dakota, they just couldn't believe we'd come all the way to come and help them. And it was humbling, and it was an honor to represent North Dakota, to represent Altru, and to represent every single person that helped me get there.